Hello and welcome to Bonsai with Tom. If you got coffee, go ahead and drink it. Got an exciting episode for us today. We're going to work on my variegateds. I'm way behind in pruning these things. And they're growing like crazy and I'm running out of time. So we're just going to go heads down and do a ton of pruning. And on these, you can see this is a triple trunk. And, definitely needs a bit of work. It's a nice looking tree. I think I call this one my mother tree. And yeah, we're just going to do a lot of pruning. And I also have an exciting thing that happened to me. While I was filming this video, a young man was visiting. He recently graduated from college, came to visit, and he was super interested in bonsai. So he came out and I was showing him my trees. And he came out later when I was pruning, actually making some video, and he started asking questions. I try to teach on this channel. But that really relies on me and sort of, I guess, what they call it, didactic, where I'm basically talking to myself and trying to point out stuff that I think is useful. But when he came to look at my trees, he started asking these amazing, really good questions. And I thought, you know what? I am just going to play that part on the video because I think it was just so useful. And, there's really no substitute for someone who's learning something new and just asking a ton of really good questions. So I'm going to play that for you, and then we'll get on to do some other pruning. But before we do that, let's start with the thought of the day first. And that is, I can't remember where I heard this, be interested and interesting. And this young man was really great examples of both of that. And I think it really helps with learning and excitement and energy around doing something new. I think it came from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I think is a fabulous book for life success. I gave it to both my kids, of course. They weren't that interested. It's kind of hammy, but it's definitely very interesting, especially if you listen to the audio book version, because it's actually him reading it. But anyway, it's good advice. Ask questions, be present, have fun when learning. And I really hope you do that with your bonsai. And don't be embarrassed to ask a question. People are really into this, and they're generally very interested and very eager to help and share with you. I know I am. And of course, some aren't. You just move on, But let's go ahead and watch this video, and I hope you get something out of it.
Oh. Ooh, are you bonsaiing?
Pruning, yeah.
Am I interrupting if I speak?
No.
Can I come watch?
Sure. So yeah, I put, this one is pretty overgrown. So you're basically just trying to get it back to like a tree form. Mm-hmm. And this one's a little confusing because you kind of want one trunk, but you can see it's got like three. Mm-hmm. But if you prune it so stuff's kind of being like up and out, it sort of works, and then but eventually I'll probably have to remove, this is kind of confusing because everything else comes up and out, but this kind of goes back in and out, but maybe it's fine. So yeah, and I just usually come in here and you can almost do it quickly and just kind of, I want a new branch out here and see where these leaves are. So if I cut it here, I'll get a branch coming out right where those leaves are, a new one changing direction. And if I did it here, I'd get one going down. So I want one to come, that way. So I do that. And the other thing you want to do is the top. You want everything going from 1 to 2. So if you have a spot where 3 branches are coming out, I'm sure I've got some here.
You gotta pick one to get rid of.
Well, you pick 2. So you go from 3 to 2 because you don't want. Sometimes you go to 1, but you definitely.
You would take one out.
Yeah, you definitely have to take one out because 3 is too many. But yeah, I kind of just don't think about it too much. Come in here and get the big stuff out and then look at it. And so anything growing to the inside like this, it's probably just going to be a mess. So I usually just take that completely off because it just clutters
because you sort of want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want branches growing like this, like across, because it's just distracting. So yeah, I just do the rough stuff, and then you kind of come in here and keep pruning. Usually stuff that goes straight up you don't want either, but some of this, like, it could come out this way. But here's one that's going straight up. I'll never use that one.
I'm able. How are you, babes?
We're having a bonsai lesson, Beth.
Yeah, I'm learning.
He wants to learn?
Well, he's
I'm just
Curious.
interested. I'm curious.
Is that true, babes?
She wants to learn too.
well, Mabel usually sitting on my lap.
You like to do bonsai too, babes?
So that looks a bit better, right? It's kind of
Yeah, you
not
don't
so
have all those, like,
shaggy
jutting
looking.
out.
And you kind of want it like this, so you sort of get, you know what I mean? You want a profile that kind of is shaped like rounded. But yeah, so I just kind of keep going.
Do you pick a side that you like?
Oh yeah.
Look at it from.
So this is the
But that's
front.
the front.
I call that the front, and then usually you only pick the front. I mean, ideally you'd want it to look great from all sides, but I don't know, that can be really tough. Some of them trees, but this one is, so I'm choosing it so I can see the trunk line. And see, one of the things I should do here, here I have one, here's 1, 2, and it's kind of like 3, so I should probably take one of these out, but I can't quite bring myself to cut this big one, but maybe I should. I'm trying to see what else is in there. Yeah, because if I take that out, at least I can take the stuff growing to the inside. If I take that out, I think I'm gonna have a hole there, like right there. So sometimes you just wait for other stuff to grow, and then you cut it later. But the tops, they really grow like crazy on the top, so I tend to prune more up there, because otherwise, you don't want the top. Ideally, you want the fattest part in the bottom, and then it gets skinnier as you go up. And so, if you let it get too fat on the top, it kind of doesn't look like a tree.
Yeah, I don't think I would know how to select, how to picture the right form.
They have like their standard.
Like guides that you're trying to strive for.
Yeah, there are, but then you just sort of. I don't know. I just try to make it look pleasing and like a tree.
Yeah. I'm sure eventually you
Go
start
from
to figure
there.
out what you personally like.
Yeah. But you can see where I have this, like, so this is the only part I don't like, where this kind of comes in and back out. But if I can get some branches coming out here, it'll just be like a full form, you know what I mean? Like you won't even see, like you basically just see these 3 trunks.
Is it possible to like bend some of them?
It is. These are succulents, so it takes a really long time. Like, I mean, you can definitely bend it, and as it grows, because you're kind of bending the fibers, and then but it's tough because you literally have to keep it on for so long with succulents, because they tend to go back to yeah, so you're better off doing, I'm gonna just take this one off, doing what they call clip and grow, where you're, with clip and grow, you're, rather than wiring or bending, you're using, remember I said if I cut it here, I'll get a new branch coming this way and that way, and then you can do the same thing to, you can get it to go where you want. And you also get taper. See how it's like thicker and it gets thinner? So that would happen too. These new branches will be thinner.
Do succulents grow pretty fast?
Oh, these grow pretty fast. This is a variegated, so it's kind of, they grow slower. But like the green ones I have over there, they grow very, very quickly.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's the end of this episode of Bonsai School. And, so I think what I'm going to do for the rest of it, here's another one. I have in this blue pot that I had fixed. And I think what I'm going to do is do a little bit of introduction for each tree. This one's coming out very nicely. I'm really working on growing them out now to heal some of these rougher edges. But, I'm getting branches, and I'm really being able to sort of work with the tree now. I think this is the end of the second year that I've had these. And I want to put them in smaller pots. Eventually, these pots are too big, but it's what I had at the time. And so what I'm going to do is I'll play a little music, and all the principles that I discussed with that young man in the previous segment, I'm going to apply. And yeah, enjoy it. So I think that's about it for the pruning on this one. It looks pretty good. You can see, you know, where I'm going for it. This section on the left is still a bit thick in here. I'll probably end up, oh, here's some stuff to the inside. I'll probably end up cutting this thick section off at some point. You know, but for now, I'm just going to let it go. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'll be bringing all these inside soon, and so I wanted to get them pruned up and ready to grow for the winter. But yeah, this is kind of one of my, I really like the shape of this, and I think it has a great future. I can imagine when I really start getting some branches, this is the thing I want to cut off. But, you know, maybe not quite yet, so we'll take a little mini victory lap on this one, and I will find the next tree. So this next one I call Dancer. Maybe it was inspired by Tina Turner. I don't know. But you can see it's got a nice little trunk on it. It's kind of a small tree. It's really grown out a lot. You know, I kind of let these variegateds just grow. And I honestly, I think probably in the spring I did do some pruning on this. But, you know, they're not nearly as fast growing as the standard port. But, you know, they respectively develop. And so I often thought about changing the potting angle. This is another pot. I really just want to it's big and chunky and square, and I think it's a nice pot, but it's just not a great pot for this tree. But you know, at the time when this thing had no leaves or anything, and I just stuck it in a pot and didn't put too much effort into it, frankly, because I wasn't sure it was going to turn out. And I think now it's time to find a more appropriate pot for it. But yeah, let's do some pruning. So I've got this little nub here. You can see out the, let me just clean up here. This out the back, and boy, I would really like to have some branch coming out of there. I think it would be nice. So I'm just going to scratch it a little. I've noticed I'm a huge fan of watching Nigel Saunders, and I'm pretty sure he said if you sort of agitate these, sometimes that'll spur kind of a stub to actually sort of activate and start growing some leaves and then branches. And yeah, I think maybe I'll change the angle of this when I repot it, but that'll be in a future video. And I think the quick haircut for this one's about done. I'll thin it out a little bit more, but yeah, I am really happy with how this one has been coming along. And that new pot is really going to take it to a new height, and we'll get some more branching and ramification. And yeah, I'm very excited about the future of this tree. This next one, I think I call it Prancer. Actually, I have to check the playlist, but because it's got like these 3 trunks from the base, and it looks to me like a prancing reindeer or something. I got this straight section here. Haven't been that crazy about it. I've been thinking about just cutting off this long one here at the base, and just having a much smaller tree. But I haven't done it yet. I think when I get to repotting this, I'll probably do that. Although this pot is, you know, it's reasonably appropriate for the tree. I like the color. It's about the right size and depth. It's not like over potted like so many of my others. And you know, that's a good point to make. Like, you know, these are succulents, and I find kind of smaller is better because it dries out more quickly and holds less water. And you know, the biggest mistake with these is overwatering them, so it sort of helps with that. So if you have it in a huge pot, it's just much easier to overwater it. So yeah, I think the future of this one, probably different pot. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to cut this long, tall section off. Sometimes I think it would really look much better as a tiny tree. And then other times, you'll see when I get it pruned up, it actually has a pretty pleasing overall shape. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think I should do with this one. So I think this one came out pretty good. You can see once you prune it up, it's definitely needs some more branches to kind of fill in, particularly near the top. But I think when it does, I think, you know, I have enough to work with here that I think it'll be, you know, quite pleasing even in its current shape. This next little tree I think is quite a charmer. I had radically cut back a much larger tree, but I really like the thick trunk in this. It's kind of a short, stumpy tree. You can see I've got my philosophers there indicating where I think the front of the tree should be. And, yeah, quite a wound there. So I'm allowing this to grow a bit to try to heal some of that. And eventually it will completely be smooth. But you can see I've got quite a few leaf sets here. And the top is really going hard. So I definitely want to prune this back and neaten it up. There's not a whole lot to work with here, so this will probably be a quick one. But yeah, I want to get it back to a nice charming form, and by cutting it shorter, I'll get more branching closer in, more ramification, all the good stuff. And I think that's a wrap for this tree. I just love it. I mean, again, like the others, it's way over potted, and in the winter here, I will be putting it into something much more appropriate. But yeah, I really think this one, to me, I mean, it has, a long way to go, but I can certainly see the direction and the vision, and very, very happy with how this one is turning out. And, these variegateds are fun. They grow much more slowly, but they just have a nice style, and they're my favorite type of variegated. Like, I don't really care for other variegated bonsai, but I mean, look at this, very charming. So this next tree has gone a bit wild. I think I call this one like Little Lilac. It's in a little Korean pot I've had forever. And yeah, you can see there's definitely some pruning carnage here with these big stumps on both ends. You can go back and look at the playlist and see. This was like sort of a huge multi-colored clump style that I just wasn't happy with, so I decided to cut it back and make a much smaller tree, and I'll probably have to do some more with those sides. I was hoping I'd get something on, you can see the wound here where I cut it and it's healing now. I was hoping to get some stuff on those stumps, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I haven't given up hope on that. Maybe I'll get some options. So just a general haircut. Shorten everything back. Much like Bonsai School, you know, stuff going the wrong direction, crossing the trunk, too long, not enough taper, too straight, all the basic stuff. And in the end, you just kind of want it to appeal to you and feel confident about what you've done for the next phase of growth. One last cut here. I'll tell you, it always amazes me when you just cut back the thick stuff, basically profile pruning. Look how much more charming that is. I mean, I can totally imagine that as a tree, and maybe this is the front actually. Get rid of that stump, but yeah, it's it just always amazes me how much I love looking at these little trees. And I think that's about it for this one. Maybe this is the front. Do a little more pruning, but you know, by reducing it down, like the trunk looks way bigger now, right? You can really see it. It sort of features it. It just adds to the charming nature of the whole tree. Like, I just love small trees, and now that I'm getting some twists and turns in this one, I'm also thinking it's going to end up being quite a nice little tree in the long run. And here's another one in the ugly duckling section. Again, a bit overpotted, but yeah, I sort of did a reset on this one and just kind of cut it back. I just went basically for the trunk form, which is pretty common with bonsai, actually. You know, because you have to just cut it back hard and then regrow all the branches. I mean, you're basically starting with a trunk and going from there, and roots, of course. Again, like the other ones, no major pruning here, just going back to sort of a maintenance prune, haircut. You know, expose much more clearly the style I'm going for in this, and just kind of compact it down and grow it out again for more branches and options to choose from. And that sort of wraps up the pruning for this one. Yeah, and I still got some issues. I really have to clear out these stumps, and I've got sort of 2 trunks, maybe a third one starting there. So um, I'm gonna let it grow a bit more. I think the tree's still kind of showing me uh, what it wants to do. You know, maybe I could change the angle. I have to pick like these 2 trunks coming up and make one, probably that one that has some taper that's more interesting, and I'll cut the other one shorter. But for now, I am just gonna let this grow because I don't really feel strongly in any particular direction with those options I mentioned. So we'll just put it aside and see what it looks like the next time that we prune it. And this next tree actually is a pretty good example of that. I call this one my dog bowl because it's just such an uninspiring pot. Again, need to do some repotting. But it's growing nicely. It seems happy in here. And I was really just unhappy with this, this tree and its style for the longest time. And so much like the last one, I just kept, well, I'll just let it grow. And, you know, the tree and I will work together to figure out what the shape should be. But it needs, you know, a bit of a prune again. But you know, that has worked out well in this tree because it's you know, it's gone from one that I just would go, oh man, what am I gonna do? And it is slowly showing me what it wants to be. And you know, sometimes it's a give and a take and a collaboration. I guess it's always a collaboration, but sometimes the tree you know, really helps you out with its natural growth as to which way it wants to go, so you sort of work together. And this tree is a good example of that. But yeah, it does need repotted, and I will put, this is our last tree for today, I will put some links to much of the pruning on these variegateds. These all came from the same cohort, family, whatever you want to say. I think I've mentioned several times the Connie, who I've gotten quite a few amazing rough material from in the past. I think I've maybe 3 times, maybe 4. She's just amazing. And so I got a bunch of these. This was really my first shipment of dwarf jade that I got from her. You know, basically she clears out stuff that people no longer want in their garden, or it's overgrown in somebody's yard, and then you know, makes that available. So it's just fantastic. But yeah, that's where this came from, and like all these that we've pruned today were from that same group. So they came in this big box. No leaves on many of them, very few on others, kind of dried out. And you know, it was my first exposure to dwarf jade, and I really thought, wow, what have I gotten myself into here? I can't imagine these are going to live, because my previous experience in bonsai is, yeah, you know, like if you allow a tree to dry out, I mean, that's it, you know, it's done. And so it took a while, you know, because especially if you have no leaves, looking for some growth out this way. You know, it definitely can take longer, but you know, they're cooking with gas now, and you know, I'm just very grateful that I was lucky enough to get these, and I'm looking forward to developing them into the far, far future. So that is pretty much a wrap for this tree. I may change the angle here. Still have a lot of options, but I think you agree it looks a lot better than when we started, and I can see a plan. And with that, we're done with this tree, and we're at the end of the video, and I want to thank you as always for spending time with me, and I'll see you again soon, and leave me some comments about these trees.